You're watching a Highwire Media podcast.
Welcome to the Political Pulse Show. As always, make sure you guys like the video down below. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. One thing I want to talk about is Donald Trump and the Epstein file release, because Donald Trump and his Department of Justice have kind of made it a big priority. Or we're making it a big priority for Pam Bondi, the Attorney General, and Kash Patel over at the FBI to go out there and release those Epstein files, if they even really fully exist. The client list, whatever. Because there's been an investigation. There's been some sort of, I guess you would say, compilation of information that was kind of, I guess, under wraps that now is not really being released. And now you have Pam Bondi and all these other people coming out and saying that there's really no evidence or they can't really release anything. And then Donald Trump himself is stepping in because he was being asked about it a lot. And you have people that are fed up with him over this whole thing, and he's going out there and he's basically calling this some sort of hoax, comparing it to the Russia hoax that we saw in his first term, and talking about how it's like, oh no, it's like one of these laptop from hell things where they're coming out and saying, oh, it's not real, and it turns out to be real. I guess it'd be like the inverse of that. And he's blaming the Democrats for it, which is a little bit strange. And I did want to touch base on this because it's something that I want to view objectively and cover objectively here, because you have a lot of people that are saying that they're done with MAGA. Is there some sort of civil war? I'm sure there are going to be people on both sides who don't like some of what I have to say. And when I mean both sides of this debate about this whole thing. All right, so Donald Trump's going out there and saying that the radical left Democrats have hit pay dirt again, just like the fake and fully discredited Steele dossier, the 51 intelligence agents, the laptop from hell, which the Democrats swore came from Russia when it came from Hunter Biden, the Russia scam itself. He's saying it's totally fake. He's coming out and saying that the Democrats are sticking together like glue with this scam. And then you have a lot of people that supported Trump. He says, my past supporters have bought into this BS hook, line, and sinker. They haven't learned their lessons and probably never will, even after being conned by the lunatic left for 8 long years. I've had more success in 6 months than perhaps any president in our country's history. And these people want to talk about this Epstein, what he calls it, Epstein hoax. And then he says, let these weaklings continue forward and do the Democrats' work. Don't even think about talking of our incredible and unprecedented success because I don't want their support anymore. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Make America great again. So there are things in this that I think are true, and there are things in this that I think are not the best look. Now, Donald Trump sometimes will purposely put out things that are not the best look to change the conversation if he has to, or in order to throw the media for some sort of tailspin, and whatever. The main point here is I agree that you have a grifter class called the Panicans. Many of them will claim to be on the right. Many of them oppose Trump through most, if not all, of 2024. They come in many different forms. They will always take the angle of opposing every little thing that Donald Trump does or Donald Trump supports. So when you look at something like this, you have this presidency that has gone relatively well. And all these same people said Trump is going to start a war with Iran, and he took out the nuclear facilities. He put them through a setback and then eventually got a ceasefire. There's no war. So he, was able to kind of flex his strength without actually getting us into one. I'm not saying it can't happen in the future. I understand both sides of that argument, but still, you have the same people saying, and maybe it's a different segment, oh, the tariffs are going to cause rampant inflation. You have tariffs in effect. Inflation is relatively stagnant. Overall, it's not like continuing to rise. The rates keep falling below expectations. It's, you'll have maybe a little bit of it, but a lot of that is just going to be transitory if you have any of that's tariff-based. And wages have rose. Self-deportations have been up. People will say there's not enough deportations. I will even join them to a certain extent, but I think a lot of people that are just complaining, and were complaining the first week Trump was in office, they're operating in bad faith. And I'm not going to take people like that seriously 100% of the time. However, I will say that there's a lot of Trump supporters out there who want to see the Epstein files. And messaging-wise, to say it's like a Democrat hoax when a lot of Trump's base believe that there's a lot of Democrats that are implicated in this as well and they want justice, I honestly think that's not the best messaging. I think it would make more sense not to talk about it. So Trump calling out the Panicans, Trump saying that, we're having an investigation, which he did say, and I think it's not fair that some people aren't covering that he was the one who wanted to look into them. He instructed them to look into them. He did not make it a big campaign promise. This is not an issue swing voters care about. And you can see Donald Trump's approval rating. You have three pretty awful polls that are known for having poor methodologies or pushing narratives that have him down by double digits. The other polls in the mix have him at like -2, -3, -1. I think that, he's probably relatively where he was. Maybe you have some soft disapproval now, uh, non-responsive bias. If people feel demoralized about this sort of thing, maybe that could play a role in the approval. But the approval is relatively stagnant. You have, bad polls re-entering the cycle. He goes down a little bit. That's typically how it works. There are polls released after this whole debacle that show him going up. I think, Morning Compost. I think even Quinnipiac. I hate trying to say that. Quinnipiac poll. I guess that's relatively stagnant. But you're not seeing this massive defection. So people that are saying it could impact the midterms, if it's still talked about, maybe see depressed turnout if it blows up even further. We could talk about that. But right now, it's not an issue the majority of the Americans are going to sit here and care about. And whether they should or they should not is not really the point. Trump didn't win because of the Epstein files. He was asked once in an interview if he would release them. And he said, sure. And eventually he tried to get them to do it. And it's true that the messaging here is not really the best. I understand his frustration, but if you're saying if you care about this, and I guess it's a little bit of a straw man, but you do have this narrative going around that he doesn't want to support from anyone who still cares. No, I think he can support Trump and care about transparency, and people will say this implicates Trump. Again, he was associates with Epstein in the 90s, which is true. I mean, they're two eccentric billionaires from New York City. I mean, they're going to hang out together. It's just the way those things typically work. I don't know if there's a billionaire from New York in the 90s that didn't hang out with Epstein or Trump. But what is true is that it's very unlikely that he went to the island or did, shady shenanigans. And if we knew about that, it would have been out by now, which is 100% true. Because again, you have the fact that yes, the messaging is not great. The files, again, why would you instruct them to look into it? Why are you talking about appointing a special prosecutor if it directly implicates you? Why would you want to dig the hole even further? Trump is not dumb. He knows that. But I still think the messaging here is not really the best. I think he's trying, get the base back on board, find a way. I just don't think it's going to work that way. I get his frustration with bad faith actors. I don't think he's involved. I just think he's baiting all the wrong people. Which again, maybe he's trying to. Maybe there's something down the line. People will say there's no 3D or 4D chess. I'm not saying that's what this is, but I'm saying it's not impossible because Trump does do that stuff. Again, it is true that you have a lot of people that are just virtue signaling about it being a deal breaker when they don't really care about this and never truly backed him. And I understand why he's angry at them. However, I will say there are a lot of people that do want answers, and the way it's been handled has been objectively poor. I mean, it is true. You have the people, he's like, it was started by the Democrats. I don't think that resonates with people. It is true that his Department of Justice made a blunder. I think that he's just kind of digging the hole when he does this. I don't think Trump's above criticism. I think he's getting too much criticism at time. You'll have people that will attack him in bad faith, but as somebody who has been a diehard supporter, I'm just not really in agreement with the messaging. Now, it's not just him. I mean, that tweet he sent out, the stuff has been bungled terribly. There's no doubt about it. Awful messaging. But you do have the people that are trying to use this to dunk on Trump when they don't even care. They hold grudges. They've always had them, and there is a difference between good faith and bad faith criticism. And Pam Bondi and the DOJ messed this up. She wasn't clear when she said she had files on her desk, or it could be released any minute. You can't do that. She was put in a tough spot. I get that. Because you have Matt Gaetz, who was nominated to be Attorney General, and a lot of people in the, diehard base loved him, and then apparently he withdraws the nomination. I don't even know if Trump really ever planned for him to be AG. I don't think he would have ever really gotten confirmed for better or worse. And as a result, Pam Bondi being the replacement was viewed as the compromise pick, held to some sort of, standard that you just couldn't really please people. So you're going to overpromise, and if you under-deliver at that point, you're going to make people even more angry at you. and that's probably not the best way that she could have gone about things. Getting influencers to stand there with binders that say Epstein files, and they don't exist according to them. And I believe that there's a chance that they don't exist. I believe there's a chance that, yeah, he possibly could have taken his own life, possibly to cover up for other people. Well, there's plenty of reasons for why it could have happened. There's other reasons that you can make the case that he did. We don't really know. The one thing I do believe about this thing is that, yeah, there's very likely some sort of deletion of the files. You think if the Biden administration had them and the Biden DOJ had them, or even the first Trump DOJ under Bill Barr, who was no fan of Donald Trump and was not really a great attorney general, like these type of people, they had the oversight. They very likely could have done something about them because they did everything they could do to take out Trump. We understand that. We remember what happened a year ago and 3 days ago. I mean, it's like these things happen. And you look at things like that, it's like, would they go through all that trouble if they could just release selectively certain files, even if they had to throw Bill Clinton under the bus? Of course they would. You know, people want transparency. They should have them. But is there a possibility there's just no files? And maybe that's like the hoax that Trump is referencing here. If I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt, it's possible. But you have the Democrats here and their approval rating in a poll that is not super favorable to Donald Trump. And we understand has never really been, aside from late 2024, where I guess they pretended to get their act together for one reason or another so they could, stay relevant as a pollster. But when you look at it, they have like a 19% approval in one poll. Doesn't mean they're going to get 19% of the vote, but it's a problem ahead of the midterms. And they want to divide, they want to destroy. Trump hasn't messaged everything, in my opinion, in the best way. Some people will be very mad at me for saying that. I'm not saying that I don't see where he's coming from. I do 100%. I mean, you have a lot of bad faith actors. They're going out there pushing this. And if every Democrat is voting in Congress, even performatively, to release the files, maybe there is, something where you could scratch your head and say, what's going on here? Doesn't really add up. Usually they would ignore this sort of thing. Now they're trying to play the angle of, oh, Trump's guilty. Let's go get him for this whole thing. I guess that's where Trump might be coming from. But regardless, they want to divide MAGA. I don't think Trump has messaged it perfectly. But still, regardless, I think that this whole thing, let's just burn everything down, let's not vote, as some people will say, is that going to release the files, or is it just going to make things worse for all of us? Because we understand what happens. People that boycott elections, it doesn't really pan out. And you have primaries that are important. And we're going to be covering those as we get closer to 2026. But either way, I think transparency is important. I think we're more likely to get it with Trump in the White House than anybody else. And I think that people that want to just use this as an excuse to trash all the other great work Trump has done on the border, on the economy, in just the past 6 months in general, yeah, I think those people are being a bit short-sighted. But I do think that it's been handled poorly and that we should demand more. So anyways, thanks for watching this video. Like the video down below. Comment down below, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications so you never miss another episode. You can follow me on social media. All the links are in the description below. And if you want to support the channel, you can buy us a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/twledger or just scan the QR code on the screen. As always, thank you so much for watching and listening. We'll see you next time.